All right, hello everyone. I wanted to welcome everyone to our first installment of ASUN Teammates, a series on the value of teammates and the process of becoming a valued teammate. We choose to address real issues of racial inequity as we intend for this program to contribute toward and improve the world of teammates. And joined with me today, I have our ASUN teammates. I have Liberty University's Associate AD for Student Athlete Engagement and Development, Butch Jefferson. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great. Really excited to be on today's call.
All right, awesome. Thank you for taking the time out to be a part of today's call. And also I have with me North Alabama men's head basketball coach, Coach Tony Pujol. How are you doing today, Coach?
Kendrell, doing great. Excited, like Butch just said, about just working with our teammates here and bringing light to the situation.
Awesome, awesome. And also joined with me, I have Kennesaw State Student Government President and former track and field athlete, Tariq Bradford. How are you doing today, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for having me back.
All right, that is awesome, man. I thank you for taking the time out. I know it's Friday. We're heading into a 3-day weekend. So again, I appreciate everyone's time and being able to sit down and talk about this issue because it's an issue that's very important to me. It's an issue that has just become, just in light of the recent deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. I know there's been a lot of civil unrest and a lot of things going on just in the community. So Coach Pujol, I wanted to start with you just by asking you about the protest that you took part of earlier this summer at the Colbert County Courthouse. And just what made you speak out in your capacity and what does the whole issue mean to you?
Well, Kendrell, thank you again for that question. And I want you to know that for me, I think I got to go back and start that, I'm a son of 2 Cuban immigrants. And growing up, I don't have the luxury of knowing the history of the country outside of textbooks, things that I've read. I didn't have grandparents that lived through things. I needed to educate myself as much as possible with just the American culture. Now, what I did know is I do know the Cuban culture. I knew the oppression that was going on in that country. I knew that my dad didn't have the right to vote in Cuba. So when I turned 18, that's the first thing he had me do. He had me register to vote in Miami, Florida. And for me, I think because of the program and what it means to this community, and when I say the program, I mean the athletic department, men's basketball, all our athletic programs and what it means to this community. After speaking with my team and my coaches, I thought it was important for us to get out and do things that we know can make a difference. So let me be kind of frank here. I did not want to be that coach that was going to check a box. I didn't want to just put out a statement, things that have no validity outside of just checking a box. So the thing that I talk to our guys about is, number one, I believe we got to impact. The way we can impact is three steps. Number one, internally. I think we as individuals, we all have a heart, man. And our heart has some good in it and it has some bad. And I think that's where the battle lies, is in our own hearts, right? So once we take care of ourselves and educate ourselves and understand what my Black brothers and sisters are going through in this country, what women are going through in this country, because I'm a dad of 3 women, young women. So when I gain that knowledge, when I understand that, now I can grow my heart, I can grow my intellect. The next thing is, I think you got to be able to touch your own community. So, everybody's talking about November 3rd, right? Let's go out and vote. Well, what we've done here at North Alabama is we've gotten our guys ready to vote locally. Because to be honest with you, and I've registered all to vote locally, because to be honest with you, this is where my student athletes spend the majority of their time during the year while they're in college. So I want them to be able to vote for folks that can make changes. I'm not a magistrate. I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not I'm not a doctor. I can't make changes in our community. But if I get my guys to understand who's running for those positions, now they can go out there and consciously choose who they want to run their community, the community that impacts them 10, 11 months out of the year. And then I think, like a ripple effect, I think now then it becomes national. Then you get into the national vote, voting for the president, voting for your Senate, for your congressman, all that stuff. But I truly believe those are three steps that I think that'll be important in just doing things to make a difference.
Okay, and also I know, just speaking at the courthouse, I know what were some of the things that you were called upon to speak on? Because I know that just reading an article from the Times Daily, it was something that you guys had spoke about, and I know that you were on the steps of the courthouse. So just what were some things that you shared with your audience there?
Just how our program impacts our community. That's just the thing. So my wife is in charge of our all of our guys' community service hours, and we do numerous things in our community, because I think there's just so much that we need to take care of here. I'll tell you one thing. One of the issues that we have here in Florence, and it's something that, and this is just my opinion. Okay, so please just understand what I'm trying to say here. To me, a form of violence that I believe exists is poverty. Okay, so to me, when I look at the situation of our country, right, and we have 11% of our population lives under the poverty level, and when I read that in Florence, Alabama, we have about 22% people, double the national average, that's a problem. So those are areas that we connected with our folks, that we want to talk about helping people. So, we go to the west side of Florence and try to impact that community. Okay, it's more of a low income area, because to me, I think that's part of the issue is where you have this issue with poverty. I think that's something that we definitely, and especially in my community, we have to address. So to me, with all the talented people we have in our country, with all the talented people we have here in Florence, there's no way that we can't come together, address these issues, and come up with some solutions. There's no question in my mind.
Okay. Thank you for that. And Tariq, I just wanted to ask you, just because I know also that you as student government president, that a few months earlier you took part in a protest in Kennesaw, Georgia. And I wanted to ask you, what made you want to be a part of that? And just what does it mean for you, just everything that's going on in today's time?
Well, thank you very much for the question. What really made me want to be part of that march was just education, just to educate everybody on what's going on, educate everybody on how important it is to register, to vote, to get these changes in your community that you really want to happen, the importance of local elections. I know a lot of people my age don't find the value in voting outside of November, right? But the thing about it is when you put in these local leaders, they affect change around you, which you directly can see. In Kennesaw, Georgia, there was this place, I'm not gonna name drop it right here, but there was this place down the street from the university about 5 minutes, and it displayed a whole bunch of Confederate memorabilia, Confederate battle flags, all versions of the Confederate flags and things of that nature. And its excuse for being able to do that was it's a Civil War antique store. But it really focused primarily on a lot of the, old racial images and stuff like that. So we just wanted to let them know that we didn't really appreciate having that in the community. It was a spot that made a lot of people feel uncomfortable, unwelcomed, and then a lot of people who actually attended that store didn't like us. So I understand the store in totality may not be hateful, but the people that it attracts and how they acted towards others were hateful. We really just wanted to get that point across because perspective is everything, right? And I wanted to be able to go out there and provide everybody with perspective and then just teach something. So that's really why we wanted to help out with that protest. We had student athletes, we had all types of campus leaders, from student athletes to SGA representatives, NAACP presidents, all types of colors, Black, white, Latino, Asian. Like it was amazing, and it was I felt like we really got a chance to leave a lasting impact and do something that really wasn't done at Kennesaw before.
And just to follow up that question, I really wanted to ask just what engendered you to actually take part in the protests? Like, I know for me, because again, like we spoke earlier, I took part of some of the protests that were in Atlanta, Georgia. And it was just an ongoing thing with just police brutality and things that I was seeing years prior to, like I told you before, again, just one thing that really hit me was Sean Bell and his passing and him being shot a day before his wedding. It was just something that I actually tuned out of social media, and just to cope with it and go on with day-to-day life and not show any resentment or any anger in my day-to-day function. It was just something I just had to really like isolate. I wanted to ask for yourself, what made you, or what was the catalyst that really wanted you to be involved in change?
So I don't know if it was a direct catalyst. I know me personally, growing up, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, Wyckoff Projects. Like, I was raised, well, I was born and I moved to Georgia in 9th grade, East Atlanta Zone 6. Another ghetto, you know what I mean? So I grew up in a low socioeconomic area. So I lived in it. You know what I mean? I lived in that realm of not having much and not really being focused on. So when I got the opportunity to get my athletic aid and I went to college and I finally got to see what the rest of the world actually looked like, I realized it was ridiculous how we have nothing in our neighborhoods besides chicken spots and gun stores. That makes no sense. And it's really just seeing how it can change, right? All the resources that are available that we just typically do not know about, and that if just showed to certain communities that the things that they can achieve. So really just providing that opportunity and just letting people know the chances that are out there. I don't know, man, that's really just it for me, because I didn't know a lot of opportunities that were available because they just don't tell us them in these neighborhoods. So really it's just, I wanted to gather the knowledge here so I can give back to my community where I'm from. And that's just a major thing for me, and it always has been. So I don't know if that's like a direct catalyst, but it's been like a building movement in my heart just to do that.
Interesting. I mean, I feel you, because like I moved here from like I'm originally from Tampa, Florida, and I moved here when I started working at the ASUN, and I stayed like right around the corner. Like it was like I used to run past it all the time, but it was like about a 4-minute run from the Wendy's where the person that got shot shortly after the protest and everything had started. And yeah, when you talk about just things in the community, and Coach Pujol, when you just talk about not having, the poverty levels, yeah, it was one of those things where they burnt the Wendy's down, and that was one of the few places to eat for like a couple of miles. And I was thinking, like, I don't live in that area this year, but when I was there, it was like, okay, like, where do we eat now? For the most part, because you have to travel further, and just the food desert, and like you said, chicken spots and gun stores, you really have to get outside of the neighborhood to just see life, or in a bigger picture. But just stating that, Butch Jefferson, I wanted to first and foremost welcome you to the ASUN conference again.
Thank you.
I know that you started just over a month ago. I just wanted to ask you, just what have been your conversations just at the conference, but the actual campus level, and as well as amongst administrators, just about the recent civil unrest that's been going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the question. The conversations here have been very open, honest, and candid. Being new here to Liberty University, the first thing that I wanted to do was come in and really just listen, get a pulse and get an understanding for what's going on here at the university, not only in my position in student development, but to your point and why we're here today, what's going on in our society with the social injustice, the racial unrest, the political division, and there are a lot of feelings about this, and everybody has the right to their own opinion, but are you open to listen and hear and have honest, true dialogue about it? And so something that's really cool that I was excited to see upon joining Liberty University is the student athletes here actually created and embraced their own motto for what's going on here, and it's called Listen, Learn, Love. And that's their approach to having open and honest conversation about what's going on in our society. And when you have something that is created by the student athletes instead of being dictated to them, being told how they need to approach it, you've got the buy-in, you've got the accountability, and you've got the engagement. And so that's what I've been really, really pleased to see, is that people, both student athletes, staff, coaches, all the way around, are open to having the conversations. The administration is very supportive of the student athletes and their feelings, and truly respect what they have to say and their feelings on the matter.
Thank you. I know just, again, just speaking to my experience and just after the death of George Floyd, we had a very lengthy conversation within the ASUN conference just on just how everyone was feeling. And I wanted to ask you, Mr. Jefferson, what has been your feeling throughout the civil unrest and everything that's just been going on during the pandemic?
Yeah, sure. My perspective is very unique. I'm a very optimistic individual, and I always try to find the positive in everything, because focusing on the negative is only going to pull you down. But frankly speaking, I work at Liberty University, which is a Christian university, and so I can say this freely. I truly believe, man, our people are perishing for a lack of knowledge. For those that are non-minorities, they don't have an experiential lens to understand how long this has been going on. Some people truly didn't know that this was going on for this long and this consistently. Others did know and turned a blind eye, which doesn't make it any better either. But man, I truly believe our focus is off. You don't want to make light of what has happened, but if you continue to focus on the negative and you don't focus on all the progress that we've made over the years and try to build on that, and as Tariq said, man, continue to educate those around us, what are we really doing? Are you going to accomplish anything? And so, yes, you can feel some kind of way about it, but man, 10% of what life is what happens to you. 90% is how you respond to it. And so how are we going to respond together to build those up around us, to educate them and to let them know what's going on?
All right. And I just wanted to open that question up just to the rest of the panel. Just what are some conversations that you have had campus-wide with your teams in your particular departments, in your administration? Anyone can take that question.
Well, I know within SGA, what we really wanted to install was a cultural competency training, just to have you more comfortable within yourself first and foremost, like checking your biases, your implicit bias, because everybody has that. Just those underlying prejudices that we may not know that we have, bringing those to the surface and realizing where you may be needing to work on a little more. Just finding out what you need to learn more, having some perspective, because we're not all identical, we're not all the same, but if we all just strive to understand each other, if we're having a conversation and we're not seeing eye to eye, being able to state my points with my facts and my opinions and my emotional appeals, my logical appeals, so I can fully hear you and understand you, because that's the point of it. I'm not always trying to sway somebody when we're having a conversation about ideals and opinions, but I want to educate you, and then I want to see your perspective as well. So even if I don't get to change your opinion, or you aren't on my side of the argument now, I at least have a better understanding on why you think the way that you do. So the next person I talk to, I can relate to a little more. And it's not an argument. We're having a conversation. You never know what can come out of that, because people typically like to antagonize people and attack instead of just having dialogue. So having that open dialogue, they may be more comfortable asking me a question or seeking guidance or commenting on something that they usually would just turn a blind eye to, as stated before. But as we all know, silence is compliance. If you don't speak up and against something, you're allowing it to happen. So, and that's really how I stand on it.
All right, Coach Pujol, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with I agree with both of my teammates here. To be honest with you, and the way I look at it is vulnerability. It's okay to be vulnerable during this time and open your heart and listen. And you know, I'm doing that. Again, like I said earlier, I don't have the history. I didn't have grandparents talk to me about how things were, or parents that how things were back in the 50s and the 40s. I didn't live here. My parents didn't live here. But that being said, one of the things that we've been able to do here is, like Tariq has said, is we're empowering, and like Butch said, we're empowering the right people. We're empowering our youth. We're empowering our players to have a voice, to speak up, to tell us what's going through your mind, and what are the things that we need to do collectively. And then I've said this to my staff also. We have a unique opportunity. Our generation has a unique opportunity right now, because if we think for 1 second that Tariq's group is not looking at us to see how we're doing things, to help the situation, we're naive. They're watching us. But the great thing about it is we're starting to see, in my opinion, now you're starting to see this growth of our young people. You're starting to see how they are gathering information and how they're utilizing information. I think we need to take a chapter out of that book too, because when I grew up, Tariq, I didn't have social media. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have all this access, but your generation does. And I think it's important for us as adults to understand how they gather information. We should be doing the same, and we should be looking at all the different views. Open our hearts and listen to all the views, and just take it in.
All right, awesome. And again, just back to our conversation that we had at the ASUN, because again, I wanted to thank our commissioner for allowing us this outlet to talk and speak to issues that are going on, because just some of the things that we post, and me being director of social media, like I see the comments that are telling us, just, keep things away from being political, and just play sports, for lack of a better word or phrase. I appreciate our commissioner again for allowing us this outlet, because we had a 2-hour conversation and hearts were very heavy. Like, we cried, we talked, we showed anger, frustration, and just some of the things that were going on in conference and just outside. I wanted to ask, what are some of the conversations, again, because I know, Tariq, the shop that you guys spoke or went to, I applaud you guys for going there and actually having a conversation and being able to hear the other side of what was going on. But what are some of the conversations, or just what is the climate on campus and within teams, or within the team function? I mean, because I know, Coach Pujol, you've been having Zoom meetings prior to everyone coming back on campus. And Tariq, I know, again, shout out Jessica.
Shout out to Jessica,
Vice President for Student Government, who's also a track and field athlete. Very smart, young, talented young woman. I know you've been speaking with her, and you spoke to some of your people in your cabinet. What are some of the things that you guys are speaking about just within your walls?
Within my walls, well, I really want to know, can I comment on that student athlete thing that you mentioned earlier about how they really don't want us speaking out much, like, and sticking with the sports? Or is that like, to
Yes,
touch
sir.
you.
Students first. Go ahead and do you.
All right. So I always find that statement so intriguing, like so interesting, like how they can say stick to just putting a ball in the hoop or running across a line. Like, we have this platform, and you want to pack out stadiums, and you want to wear the jerseys and support all the people and listen to everything they're saying until it's something that's a touchy topic, or until they use their platform for something that actually matters over scoring points in a game or running fast or jumping far in dirt. We want to use our platform to speak out against something, our God-given talent, the things that put us here and put us in the spaces to be heard. You want us to not use that and not use our platform to speak out on something that's wrong. That is so mind-blowing to me. So everything that we're doing, the most thing that you notice about us is that we are out here representing our universities, bringing all this money in, bringing all this revenue in, bringing all these people in. And you want us to not use that platform to speak out against something that's wrong? Mind-blowing. That is mind-blowing. And we're going to continue to use our platforms. And it's just like that. If it hurts your feelings, it's just like that. That means you do not want to listen and hear other people's perspectives, because that's all it is. Nobody's really attacking anybody. It's all perspective. And if perspective insults you, come on, we got steps and things to do. But something that we're walking on within our walls, right? Was that the following question? Can I hear that again? I got a little passionate.
Yeah, no, I see it. Just some conversations that you guys have had in your walls just about the climate that's been going on and dealing with everything that's been going on. So,
gotcha. I know we're advocating for policy change. We really just want anti-racism training or anti-racism mentality, not just, well, I'm not racist, and let it go like that. We want to just end it. We really just want everybody to be able to feel comfortable and feel safe in their environment. We're working very closely with the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, understanding the concepts of intersectionality, understanding that just because I'm Tariq Bradford, the SGA president, Tariq Bradford, the black man, the student athlete, that all of those encompass who I am. I don't have to pick and choose who I want to identify as at that time, realizing that all aspects of you matter and that holistically, that's who you are. So once people really get that through their head and stop trying to hide parts of themselves and just understand the concepts of diversity and inclusion, acceptance, and just continuous learning, that's something that we really want to focus on and hone in on. And that's what we've been talking about within our walls.
All right. Anyone else want to add to that?
Butch, it's your turn.
I was trying to be respectful. I didn't know if you wanted to go.
Oh, no. Go.
All right.
Go.
Well, so our conversations, we've been trying to keep them focused. I referenced earlier the motto here that the student athletes created of listen, learn, love. And it really comes down to what we've all been saying today. It's about respect. It's about truly listening. It's about trying to learn what has been going on in our society and what historically has happened to cause it. It's about equality. Nobody's out here trying to angrily converse with one another. You simply want to be heard and be able to have open, honest dialogue so that you can learn and better yourselves and find out what's going on with I don't even want to say other races or other ethnicities, because it's only one race. We're all the human race. But people have to be willing to listen. And if people are not willing to listen, then there's no point in having a conversation. It all comes back to respect and what's going to make the biggest impact. You don't want to have right now people just trying to have conversation to give lip service if they're not about making true impact and positive change.
Right on.
You just check the box. You don't want to just do that. I like how you said that earlier.
Correct.
No, it's not about checking the box. You're absolutely right. And,
yeah.
to me, the other thing is we do have a platform. To my teammates, especially you, Tariq, yeah, we all have a platform, right? And my thing is, how are we using it? So again, I go back to the check the box thing. Mm-hmm. I'm watching all the professional sports, right? And you're seeing how the NBA is using their platform. You're seeing how the NFL is using their platform. And I don't know if you guys watch Hard Knocks, but I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Hard Knocks. Okay. And one of the discussions, I thought the coach was spot on. he said, hey, look, I'm going to support you guys in whatever you do. But hey, if we're gonna cancel a scrimmage, if we're not gonna practice today, we're gonna go do something then. Like, we're not just gonna stay home. Like, if you're gonna use your platform, let's use it the right way. And when I heard the coaches say, hey, look, cool, you guys don't want to practice today? Okay, well, you know what? Let's all get together and let's go to the courthouse, or let's go talk to a judge, or let's go talk to a local politician and find out what's on the docket that's going to make a change in our communities today. You know, I think that's the other area. Like right now, us right here, just listening to you right now, I know once this thing is over, you're going to go out there and you're going to make a difference, man. I can sense it. Okay, I love your passion, man. I love it. Okay, I love it. And to me, I just want you to know that my background, again, I always go back to that, right? So I told you at the beginning, I think what's important is each individual, we have to battle us. Like, you know how you talked about that person that it says, hey, look, I'm not a racist. Mm-hmm. Well, look inside, look really deep inside and figure that part out. There could be some things that you don't even know about, that you're not noticing, or something you're not educated in, that, hey, my kids educate me all the time. You know, listen, I didn't grow up in an era that people didn't want to be labeled by gender. Right. And now I do live in a society that people don't want to be labeled. And I have to have the knowledge to know how to address a situation when I say to somebody, thank you, ma'am, and they don't want to be called ma'am. I got to understand that. So that starts with me. That starts in my heart. That's the battle that I have to fight internally. Right. So then I can then make a difference out in the community. Right. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Just educating ourselves, just checking ourselves when we're learning and having patience with ourselves and continuing our growth, really constant education, always willing to learn. And if you're always willing to learn and always willing to grow, I don't see the problem. You know what I mean? Because we're not perfect, we're all human beings, but we always have to be willing to learn and willing to grow.
100%.
Yeah. Coach Pujol, you made a statement just there. It can be really difficult a lot of times for people to make that honest introspection that's needed to look at, man, what type of unknown or unseen or unrecognized prejudices have I had or exhibited in my life? And people say, I'm not prejudiced. That is not true. Everyone is prejudiced, because prejudice is simply prejudging something without having all the information or knowledge about it. Every single person is guilty of that. And so it really takes a mature person to be willing to look inside and say, what parts of me need to grow and mature where I can seek wise counsel, and then be willing to hear it, be willing to listen, be willing to learn. And so I wanted to go back to Coach Pujol, what you had said about the Hard Knock show. I had a really, really awesome opportunity last week, last Wednesday, when I had the chance to speak to our women's lacrosse team. They were doing a team building activity, and they were actually watching the most recent Hard Knock show with the Rams and the Chiefs. And they talked about everything. And they talked about dealing with the pandemic, trying to get through training camp safely, social injustice, and really focusing in on Coach saying, I will support you in anything that you do, but we're going to do it with respect. We're going to do it with respect. And so after they finished watching the show, they had open dialogue as a team, both players and coaches and staff, to talk about, what did you glean from this show? What did you glean from, what did you hear? What stood out to you? What made the most impact to you that you can now go change and make positive change with what's going on here, not only within your team, but within the athletic department and on the campus and in the community?
That's good.
So,
if you don't mind, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
To me, Butch, if I tell my players that they got to leave their ego at the door when they participate in a team event, that they can't bring their ego, that I would be a fraud if I didn't do it myself. So I thank you for making the comment about being able to look internally. I'm 53 years old, okay? And if I'm telling my guys that they are constantly, you need to constantly get better, you need to constantly grow, you got to be, you know, how can I not do that myself? The days, listen, I played in the days where you do what I say, not what I do, okay? Those days are gone. They're history, okay? The generation that we're coaching sees through that and sniffs that out like that, okay? And they don't want to associate themselves with people. What do they do when you tell them something? The moment you tell them something, if they don't trust you, they're going to fact check you, okay? They're going to figure you out, okay? Right. But now once you've done that, and again, like I said before, I think it's us. I think we got all of us need to look internally first, figure out the things that we have to grow in, figure out those things so then we can then, and you know what, and be vulnerable, that we should have good people around us that could tell us, no, coach, you're looking at that the wrong way. Okay. That's not the right way to look at that. I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. In fact, if it's helping me grow, I don't care if it's the manager on my team or it's my assistant head coach. I could care less. Help me, because I want my players to see that, because I think that's how you build trust with today's generation.
That's right.
All right. Well, one thing, because I know we're in the middle of a pandemic. However, I mean, it's my hope that we start playing at some point. So have you guys had conversations regarding the possibility of protests taking place once competitions resume, like with the NBA, in light of the Jacob Blake shooting in Kenosha, Wisconsin? There was protest in the middle of the playoffs, and just in light of everything that's going on, have you guys had that discussion just to figure out what is the narrative, or just where players and student athletes, their minds are?
So, as a student, right, completely throwing out the possibility of protests happening in games, unlikely, very unlikely. So, not a lot has been spoken on about it, just really the possibility of it happening. Like, say a situation were to arise, we know a protest, a public forum, a protest will happen at these functions. Before, I know my freshman year at Kennesaw State, a couple of the cheerleaders, when they kneeled at a football game, and back then it was a different world. You couldn't have a form of public protest at these athletic events without the community turning against you, depending on where you were at. So now I feel like it's more, because more information is out and people are more knowledgeable now, it's more accepted. So the community won't turn against you, and you won't get kicked off any teams, in my opinion. You won't get ostracized or disowned by your university like how it was back in the day. I feel like nowadays the university will actually back you, because before, the university would try to brush a lot of things under the rug. Not my university in specific, but just universities all over the country. They didn't want to touch it. They didn't want to be a part of it. They didn't want to say anything. They just know, we're not racist. We're not going to touch it. We're in a bubble world. Don't say anything. But nowadays, people are speaking up, and you're not losing your job for it, hopefully. And you're not losing your athletic aid and your scholarship. You're actually being heard, because now is the time. Now is the time. And if a protest is needed, or a public form of something, athletes will use their platform. And just, hey, that is what it is. Beyond that, now a lot of planning has been going on and talking about it within my realms. But then again, I'm retired, so I don't know.
All right. Well, I asked that question because I know, just even thinking, like, I have the poster up on my wall in my office. in the 1968 Olympics with the track and field athletes that actually protest on the podium. And they were wearing black socks, they had black gloves, and it was one other black thing. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a protest just in light of just the civil rights movements that was taking place during the 60s. I spoke with an administrator in reference to, like, he was wondering just what the climate was amongst student athletes protesting games, like as far as like maybe wearing all black shoes or all black, just something like, he just wanted to be part of the discussion and he didn't know if he was going to be or not. So just trying to get in front of the conversation. So I was just wondering if any of you guys may have had conversations with your team just regarding where their minds are, where their heads are at in regards to what's going on.
No, in the time that I've been here at Liberty University, there have not been any specific conversations had about protesting. However, the student athletes and minorities do have the ear of those that are in power. And as Tariq mentioned, people are now willing to listen, whereas before they may not have been willing to listen with an open heart and listen objectively. You know, Tariq mentioned before, you know, if this was a year ago and somebody was kneeling in a peaceful protest, it would not potentially have been well received. However, now people are open to hear why the kneeling was happening in the first place, which was about police brutality. It never had anything to do with disrespecting the flag, disrespecting our nation, disrespecting our military. That was never the intention or the reason for kneeling. But at the time, those in power were not necessarily willing to hear, and now they are. And so it also now is up to not only us as minorities, but all people to speak up and speak about what's right and fair and equitable for all of us.
For us, I'm going to just let you know, our program, and I'm strictly speaking for men's basketball at North Alabama. We've had dialogue on it. To be honest with you, we didn't know when we're going to get started, what's going to happen as far as our season. You know, some indication are saying that we may start at the end of November. Some indications saying January. So there's a lot of things that are up in the air right now. But I'm going to say this to all of you. I'm going to support all of my guys in what we do, and we're going to do it collectively. And I've already set up meetings with our athletic director about it. That I think we need to start having these conversations because I think it's important that, again, we're just sending the right message. It's got to be something, in my opinion, since we are a team, that we do it collectively. But at the same time, I got to be careful because not everybody has the same view. Not everybody has that desire to be an activist. Okay, they want to protest maybe a different way. I get that. So I gotta also leave it open to the individual to feel like, hey, coach, I feel strong about this. Well, I want you to know, as the basketball coach at North Alabama, I'm supporting my student athletes 100%. I'm not going to sit back and say, hey, if you do that, you know, 3 of our fans are gonna give up their season tickets. Well, you know what? We'll find 3 more, right? That's the way we got to look at life, man. If those folks get offended, well, you know, I'm sorry, you know, but we're gonna do what's right, and I'm gonna listen to my players, and we're gonna collectively come together and figure out what's best for the program, what's best for the individuals in the program.
I second that, Coach Pujol. That's one thing I can say for sure here is that we definitely are supporting our student athletes and want to do what's right by them. And I have seen that in all the sports that I've had the opportunity to speak with and be in front of. And so I really respect your approach to it, the support that you're providing to your student athletes, and really being there, willing to go in the trenches with them through this time.
I really love the energy that the ASUN has, because Kennesaw State really really advocates for the students and lets the students come speak and give our experiences. Literally just yesterday, I was at the Provost Athletic Oversight Committee speaking on the student experience, on where they can improve with student athletes and their experiences on campus at Kennesaw State University. And a representative for each college was there, and the provost of the university, the athletic director, all there just to hear student experiences and what they can do to improve it. And that speaks volumes, just to show that you guys care and are willing to take the actionable steps to make change. And that's just awesome. And I really do appreciate that. I want to reach out and let y'all know I appreciate that. And I'll appreciate my university for doing it as well. So I just know it got to be an ASUN thing.
Tariq, that was my point earlier about we as a different generation, man, we have a tremendous opportunity right now to just connect our generations. This is a great opportunity, in my opinion. I think we got to look at that. I think if we look at life, that it does things for us rather than to us. I think if we look at life that way, we'll start to see, man, that we can grow as people and use these experiences to just grow as people, man. So I'm a big fan of, like, forget about the energy at Kennesaw. I love the energy right here. Like, I love your energy. I love Butch's energy. I love the way that we're all, Kendrell, the way that we're all talking about things that, you know, in my heart, man, mean a lot.
Definitely. Just given, because again, like we spoke earlier, like my mom, she comes from Birmingham, Alabama, just when it was called Birmingham during the 1960s. She was about the same age of the four little girls when when they were killed during the bombing. And actually my aunt went to that church. Just she did go to that church on that particular day. So it's something that's very near and dear to me. Like, I always go to that church and go to the Civil Rights Museum that's across the street whenever I'm visiting family, and just go to the park and walk around in the park, because, you know, you're amongst history, and a lot of people gave up their freedoms and a lot of people gave up their rights just so I could be in the situation that I am right now. So this topic is very big to me. And again, I appreciate the ASUN for allowing me to sit and speak about it, because a lot of times when we speak about Black Lives Matter and the Black Lives Matter movement, immediately want to come back and say all lives matter. And, you know, in a utopian society, I'm like, that is the case. All lives matter. But then again, how can you tell me all lives matter when Black lives seem like they don't? So, you know, how do you come back and combat that statement? You know, just tell me that. Because again, speaking with one of my friends a long time ago, and he was Caucasian, and he was saying, Kendrell, you know, if I was in your neighborhood and I was walking down the street at a late time, do you feel like someone would harass me or bother me or, you know, rob me or something like that? And I said, probably, you know, but then again, if it were me, the same thing would probably happen if I'm going down the street, you know, unless somebody just happens to know me, but I don't walk around the street like that. But the only difference between you and I is if I am in your neighborhood, I don't feel safe in your neighborhood either, where you may. Because again, just reverting back to Ahmaud Arbery and him jogging, like if I'm jogging in an unknown neighborhood, if I'm traveling, if I'm in an Airbnb, you know, I don't know the terrain. I don't know the neighborhood. I don't know who's following me. I don't know if George Zimmerman's behind me. I don't know if someone is coming behind me just saying, you're not from this neighborhood. And we've had recent break-ins, you know, and I don't know if I'm being targeted. So if I'm being pulled over by the police, I'm keeping my hands on the steering wheel 10 and 2. And I got pulled over one time before, and the police were like, you know, you can relax, you know, because we were in this social climate. And he was like, you can relax. I was like, you know, I'd rather not, you know, all my stuff is here on the dashboard. So, you know, do what you have to do. Because even reverting back to Sandra Bland, and she was pulled out of the car because the police didn't like her attitude. And you're not always going to like our attitude based on why we're being pulled over or we're mad. Like, I know a lot of times I'm mad because I just don't like that I'm about to get a ticket, and I'm thinking about how my situation is set up. And, you know, I could be mad at that, but, I don't feel like we should be not targeted, but I don't feel like we should be in a position where we fear for our life because we're being pulled over by the police. So I am very deep into just everything that's going on now. And again, I appreciate the ASUN for allowing us this opportunity to speak, because I know a lot of times I am very, I want to work here. So when things happen around here and I feel like there are situations or things that are going on that I'm not sure if I want to work here or not, sometimes just based off of some things that may go on or some conversations that are had, I have to figure out, do I want to work here or wherever our situations are or our jobs are. So I realize, again, we're not the problem. So I just wanted to share that, and I'm not sure of everyone's experience. I know, Coach Pujol, with you being an immigrant, I know that you've experienced things just being here, and I appreciate you making sure that all of your students were registered to vote so we can affect change moving forward and just be a part of the process. But with that being said, I wanted to ask, what is next? I know, Tariq, you said that you were setting up some things on Kennesaw's campus or Kennesaw State's campus. So just what's next or what's moving forward for your programs, for your universities? How would you like this particular time to affect the people that you talk to and the people that the lives that you're a part of? Because Coach Pujol, I seen that you retweeted Coach John Thompson. It was a quote that Allen Iverson had put out, and just thanking him for saving his life. And I watched the 30 for 30 on Allen Iverson, and I know how influential coaches can be in a student's life. Mm-hmm. So just tell me, what are some things that you guys want to resonate in your student athletes, resonate with just anyone that you touch, just moving forward?
Well, I'm gonna give Tyrek a break because he started both times first, and if you don't mind, I'm gonna start Tyrek, if that's okay.
By all means, go ahead.
Yeah. So if I can, I want to make a few comments about what you said earlier. And you mentioned about all lives matter. I use this analogy. I have 3 daughters. Okay, and if one of my daughters got in a car wreck and was in the hospital, okay, and her mom and I are going to give her attention. It's not that we don't love our other 2 daughters, but right now that daughter needs more of my attention. And that's how I view Black lives right now during this time. Is right now my Black brothers and sisters need our attention. It's not that we don't love the Cuban community. It's not that we don't love the white community. It's just that right now that attention needs to go to that group. And I think we need to provide that attention. I grew up in Miami, Florida. And if you know any history about Miami, when Cubans started showing up in Miami was a predominantly white town back in the days. But when Cubans started showing up, I remember as a little kid, the bumper stickers. Can the last American that leaves South Florida bring the American flag? I saw those things growing up, okay? So did I see certain things? Yes, I did. Probably, again, I don't know the history of before, but those are the things that I got to see. So when I hear you speak about Birmingham, I coached at the University of Alabama. I'm coaching now at North Alabama. I know the history. I was a history teacher. So I know when I was a high school coach, I was a history teacher. And when I talk to my kids about, again, things that I taught and things that I read in books, I know that the Confederate statues were put up after the war. They weren't put up during the war. They were put up after the war. And the reason why they were put up after the war is because I think folks in the South, after the Union armies and everybody left all these folks down here to kind of reestablish the South, when those monuments went up to remind people things aren't changing. It's going to stay the same. It's just going to be in a different format. And that's why I tell people that, you know, when I was at VCU as an assistant coach, I would go through Monument Drive all the time, and you would see the Robert E. Lee and the Jefferson Davis and all that stuff. I saw that. So I'm sorry I went off on a tangent there, but what I wanted you to know is that that's my history. And again, I'm continuing to learn and I'm continuing to grow. So what's next for our program? And we're going to keep doing what I said when I first started this. We're going to look internally first. We're going to get better ourselves first. But then we want to make sure that the things that we can touch and feel in our community, we want to make sure that we're impacting that. I think it needs to be a ripple effect mentality where it starts with me, then it starts in my community, then it starts to expand. Because think about it, as people, Kendrell, if I watch you and I see your daily walk, and your daily walk is a positive one that grows you as a man, if I'm watching, I'm going to probably emulate some of the things, and I'm going to take some of the things that are helping you grow as a man, right? So now that you affected me. And that's what I try to tell, because think about it, if you tell somebody, yeah, let's go change the world, golly, are you kidding me? Like, how do you do that? You know how it starts? In my opinion, again, it goes back to the beginning. It starts with me. And then it starts with the people that I deal with. So yeah, going back to about John Thompson, man, that's the type of legacy that I want to leave. Not that, and by the way, I'm going to fall way short from John Thompson. Okay. But I can tell you right now, I want my guys 20, 30 years from now, if the good Lord still has me on this earth, yeah, man, I want them to come visit me in my old folk home, obviously social distancing, okay? But I want them to come in and bring their children and say, you know what? You see that guy right there? That guy helped me. That guy helped me. He helped me grow. The thing that I fear is a young man coming back and saying, hey, coach, man, you knew I had talent. You knew I had certain things. There was this part of my life that you could have changed. And if you could have impacted that, I could have been better. That's what I fear as a coach, is having those guys come back saying that I didn't do enough. So, and again, I'm not talking about basketball. That's the last thing from my mind. Because if all I give my guys here is basketball, if I improve their life in just the basketball world, I've done them a disservice. Okay, I've done them a disservice. I gotta provide resources that are gonna help them grow as men. Because let me say this, guys, there's enough negativity in the world, man. And I tell these guys all the time, the last thing I want you to do is provide more negativity. Be a part of bringing positivity to the world. Put a dent in the universe, man. Okay, because there's enough negativity. We don't need that. Sorry, I kind of went off there on the tangent.
I'm loving it. Love it.
Yeah.
Love
I was going to say, how in the world do you follow that?
Yeah. Man, I love it. Don't feel bad. I'm zoned in when you're talking. I'm just like, oh wow, yeah. But I know with us, our next steps really, because I know we were looking internally, right? Checking our biases, educating ourselves. You spoke about Jessica earlier. She might kill me for mentioning this slightly because it's not finished. But SGA at Kennesaw State, we're working on an accountability pledge, really just to hold everybody accountable and keeping our university a inclusive and diverse space. And I'm going to leave it at that because not all of the details are ironed out yet. We're almost at the point we want to drop it, but I don't want to spoil it too much, but really just accountability, holding each other accountable and consistent growth. That's what's next.
What's next for us here is continuing to educate, continuing to listen, continuing to learn. But once we do all of that, faith without works is dead. What are we going to do? We got to create initiatives and create action plans on what we're going to go out here and do to continue driving this change that we want to see. And so we are actively doing that right now. I don't think I mentioned this earlier here at Liberty University. Over the last 2 months, we've brought in 2 additional executive VPs in our diversity and inclusion department on the university side. And now in my new role here, I'm the diversity and inclusion representative within athletics. And so there are a lot of things in the works to continue having these conversations and continuing to listen to those more underrepresented population here on campus. And then, like I said, putting initiatives in place to actually put feet to our faith to go do something with what we've learned and what we've heard through this process.
I love it.
Awesome, man.
Awesome, man.
I thank you guys for being a part of this panel. I know here at the ASUN conference, I know with myself, it's just something that I wanted to continue to use my voice and use my platform, just so I can hear other people's platforms, other people's experience. Butch, I know one thing, like I looked at your video the first day you stepped on campus and they interviewed you, and you were talking about playing football and just how, again, teammates here, people, how they come from different socioeconomic backgrounds, and everybody has different things that they've gone through, different things that are impacting their life, but we're all united for one common goal. And, you know, that's to win, whatever that may be. So I want to, because again, like when Sean Bell passed, or when Sean Bell was killed, and especially when the police officers, they all got off. Same thing with Trayvon Martin and his situation. It was just something I really didn't want to speak on the issues. It was just, you know, I compartmentalized, I locked it away in order to function in our society again. It was just something that I had to have tunnel vision. You know, I'm here, I'm working on my graphics, I'm trying to come up with different catchy tweets and quotes and things to move forward. But it got to a point where just seeing George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and same with Ahmaud Arbery, just seeing hearing about their deaths, seeing them on different social media outlets, is just something that resonated with me, and just something to where I couldn't be silent anymore. And, you know, excuse me, I fumble through my words sometimes. I'm not as articulate as I would love to be on this social matter. But I think of Moses, and just him having speech impediments, and just him having to deliver the commandments and everything like that. Like, you know, when you're called upon to do something, you just have to get it out the best way you know how. So that's me trying to do that here. But I wanted to thank all of you guys for being a part of this panel. I didn't want to take it over an hour. So, you know, I want to be respectful and mindful of your time, because I know all of you have different things that you're doing. So thank you guys for being a part of this panel. There will be many more. Want to make sure that people get this out, just see where we are in different campuses, just hear what people have to say about it, and just open up dialogue, because that's the first thing, just having that uncomfortable conversation. And a lot of times, you know, certain things can be uncomfortable for me, and I appreciate you guys for allowing me to ask you questions and just hear where you guys are at on your campuses and just within yourself. So I heard everyone's final thoughts, so I'll just conclude on that matter. So again, thank you guys for being a part of our first installment of ASUN Teammates. Please continue to be a beacon of light. Just do everything on your campuses, do everything you can, and just moving forward. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much for having
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Kendrell, I can get Butch's information, but I don't think I can get Tariq. Tariq, is there? I'd love to reconnect with you at some point.